Darth Vader, Star Wars. In George Lucas's first rough draft, back in 1974, Vader didn't even wear a mask. It only showed up because of a hiccup in the script. There's this scene where the character has to cross the open vacuum of space between two ships. And since nobody breathes in a vacuum, Ralph McQuarrie, the illustrator on the original trilogy, drew him a respirator to get around it. And Lucas liked it so much it became the definitive look. But that little fix raised a whole new question. How's this mask actually supposed to look? The final design pulled three very specific references together. The shape of the helmet, straight-off samurai armor. The flare running down the neck, German helmets from World War I. And the face, sculpted to look like a skull. All of it came together to build an identity as iconic as Vader himself. Vader's face has turned up on official U.S. postage stamps. And I'm serious. There's even a gargoyle carved with his face, sitting high up on a cathedral in Washington. That alone tells you just how massive this mask became in pop culture. Guy Fawkes mask, V for Vendetta. White, grinning face, rosy cheeks, a thin mustache pointing up, and a sharp goatee. David Lloyd drew it back in the 80s for the comic V for Vendetta. That masked anarchist trying to take down a fascist regime in a dystopian England. But that smile has a real owner. The face belongs to a guy who actually existed, Guy Fawkes, an English conspirator from 1605. He joined a plot to blow up British Parliament and kill King James I. The famous gunpowder plot, it all went wrong. Fawkes was caught, tortured, and executed for treason. And to this day, England still celebrates November 5th by burning dummies with his face on them. 4 centuries later, the 2006 movie made the mask blow up. It became the face of protests all over the world, and kind of a trademark of the Anonymous, which is pretty interesting because a lot of people tie that iconic mask to the activist movement more than to the movie itself. Loki's mask. In the comics, Big Head's jade mask is a voodoo artifact that takes its wearer's most hidden desires and makes them real. But since we're talking about the movie, the story here is a different one. Stanley Ipkiss's mask is a Viking relic, holding the power of none other than Loki, the Norse god of mischief. Made of wood and metal with that green glow, it turns whoever puts it on into the mask and hands the user a power called Toon Force, the ability to bend reality like a cartoon. Picture pulling a giant hammer out of your pocket, turning into a tornado, or planting a kiss so over the top your heart pops clean out of your chest. The big downside is that the wearer loses all grip on reality, like he's slipped into a whole new persona where anything goes to get what he wants. And after he wakes up without the mask, he's only got fuzzy memories of what he did, kind of like when you get hammered and text your ex, Amanda, on a Friday night at 2:35 in the morning, begging her to take you back, swearing you've changed, and she hits you back with, "It's too late, I'm seeing someone now." You read it, and it crushes you, so you go to bed miserable and wake up the next day dehydrated with a pounding headache. Michael Myers' mask. The story behind it isn't complicated at all. It's really just another classic case of a low-budget movie having to improvise. Back in 1978, the Halloween production was running on a shoestring, and they needed a scary face for their killer. With no money to get anything custom-made, they sent filmmaker Tommy Lee Wallace down to a costume shop to dig up whatever might work. He came back with a Captain Kirk mask. Yeah, Kirk from Star Trek, William Shatner's actual face. Problem was, Captain Kirk's face wasn't exactly nightmare material, so the crew had to paint the whole thing white, cut the eye holes wider with a pair of scissors, rip off the eyebrows, and comb the hair back. And that's how one of the most famous masks in slasher history was born. And the funniest part of all this is that William Shatner spent years with no idea the mask was his own face, only finding out way later in an interview. Ghostface. Now let's talk about the best, most iconic mask of them all, at least in my opinion. Its story is actually a lot like the one behind Halloween. It wasn't originally made for the movie. The production company was out scouting houses to use as a set, and in one of them, the producers opened a box in the garage, and there it was. Like the gods of the slasher genre had blessed them with the holy mask themselves. Wes Craven took one look and went, That's the Scream, the famous Edvard Munch painting. They liked it so much they brought it back for the team to design a costume inspired by it, but none of the designs they came up with won the studio over. So they had the brilliant idea to just buy the rights to the original mask and use it in the movie, which turned out to be a great deal for them and for the mask's maker, Fun World. Personally, I love this mask. Not just because I'm a huge fan of the Scream saga, but because I find it incredibly charming. Maybe thanks to those iconic scary movie scenes that parody the original and give Ghostface this comedic vibe. So, a lot of the time I catch myself rooting for the killer, especially when that annoying Gale shows up. And even though every Scream movie follows the same recipe, I always get hyped in the scenes where Ghostface shows up carving somebody to pieces. The fact that it could be a woman or a man under the mask makes the whole thing more fun. No wonder it's by far the most worn costume at Halloween parties, and lately it's become a sexual fetish for the busty girls of TikTok.
You what the fuck? Get off her, that's my girlfriend. Babe, you're safe now.
Go away! Keep going.
This mask saved slasher horror when it was dying out, made Halloween parties way more fun, and on top of it all, satisfies naughty, dark romance readers. Honestly, there's nothing more to say.